If you ever find yourself near the forgotten woods, don't go in. I'm serious. And if you hear it call your name, run. But whatever you do, don't look back. That was the warning my grandmother gave me when I was a kid. I laughed at it then. But after what I saw, it started 3 nights ago. My best friend Claire vanished without a trace. No signs of struggle, no footprints, no clues. Just gone. The police had their theories. Maybe she ran away. Maybe she got lost. But I knew Claire. She hated camping. She'd never step foot in those woods on her own. Still, that's where I found myself. The moment I crossed the tree line, it felt wrong. The air was heavy, like the forest was watching me. The usual sounds, birds, insects, just silence so deep it felt like cotton in my ears. My boots sank into soft, wet earth, and every step seemed louder than it should have been. And then, it happened. I heard my name, clear as day, like someone was standing right beside me. Zara. I stopped dead. The voice was gentle, almost friendly, but there was something hollow about it, like a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Against my better judgment, I moved toward it. The trees grew closer together, their branches bending low like they were trying to keep me in. Once, I caught a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye, pale, almost human. But when I turned, nothing. The voice called again, Zara, come closer. I found a clearing with a massive oak in the center. Its bark was covered in strange, twisting marks that seemed to pulse faintly. And there, carved deep into the wood, was Claire's name, fresh, underneath. Was the date she disappeared? I barely had time to process it before another voice spoke. Run. I turned and my heart nearly stopped. Claire stood there, but it wasn't her. Her skin was so pale it looked like glass. Her eyes, pitch black. No whites, no pupils, just black. The forest shifted. I swear the trees moved, closing around me. The whispers started, not one voice now, but many, all speaking at once in some language I couldn't understand. And right then, I realized something. I didn't come into the woods to find Claire. The woods had brought me here. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't you run? Truth is, the second Claire whispered run, my body reacted before my brain did. I turned toward the path I came from and bolted. Only, it wasn't there anymore. Where there had been an open trail a moment ago, there was now just a wall of trees, thick, twisted trunks packed so close I couldn't even squeeze through. I circled the clearing, searching for another way. But every direction looked the same. Endless trees, shifting shadows, and the whispers? Oh, the whispers followed me. They didn't sound like voices anymore, more like the forest itself was speaking. Leaves rustling without wind, branches creaking in patterns that almost felt like words. Every now and then, I could pick out my name. Other times, I swear I heard Claire's laughter, but not the warm, human kind. This was different. I glanced back toward her. She hadn't moved. Still standing half in shadow, those black eyes locked on me. The moment our gazes met, I felt this pull. Like something behind those eyes was reaching for me. I broke the stare instantly. I told myself to keep moving, that there had to be an exit. But the deeper I walked, the stranger it became. The ground wasn't just soft now, it was breathing. I could feel it subtly rising and falling under my feet, like I was standing on the chest of something enormous, sleeping beneath the soil. And then, I saw the light. It flickered ahead, pale and cold, like moonlight caught in a jar. I rushed toward it, thinking maybe it was a way out, or at least a sign of someone else. Instead, I found a second clearing, smaller than the first. In the center was an old wooden swing hanging from a single branch. No wind, but it moved, slowly creaking. And there, carved into the seat, was another name. My name, not in my handwriting. The whispers grew louder, so loud I covered my ears. But covering them didn't help. The sound wasn't entering through my ears, it was inside my head. I turned to run, and that's when I saw her again, Claire. But now she was closer, much closer. Her face changed. Too wide a smile, too many teeth. Her lips didn't move when she spoke. You shouldn't have come here, Zara. I stumbled backward, nearly falling. She took a slow step forward, tilting her head like she was studying me. And then, the swing stopped moving. That's when I realized we weren't alone in that clearing. You ever feel a presence before you actually see it? Like the air gets heavier, and your skin knows something's there before your eyes do. That's what happened in that clearing. Claire wasn't the only thing watching me. At first, I didn't see it, but I felt it, deep under my feet. The earth gave this slow, deliberate shudder, like a sigh from something that had been sleeping for far too long. The swing groaned once, then stilled completely. Even the whispers went quiet, as if whatever was down there had silenced them. I glanced at Claire. She wasn't smiling anymore. Her expression had gone blank, but her eyes weren't looking at me. They were staring at the ground just behind me. I turned. That's when I saw the roots. Thick, gnarled things snaked out from the earth, curling like fingers. They weren't still. They were moving, twisting slowly, stretching toward the swing, toward me. I stepped back, but the soil beneath my boots shifted again, softer now, almost sucking at my feet. It felt like standing on wet sand at the edge of a tide. Only the tide was pulling down, not out. Then I heard it. Not the whispers. A low, groaning rumble, like a voice made of stone and dirt. I couldn't understand the words. I didn't need to. It wanted me closer. Claire's head tilted again, too far to be natural. Don't listen to it, she said, but her voice was flat, lifeless. It's been hungry for years. The roots suddenly lashed out. Not fast, but with enough force that I stumbled forward. One brushed my ankle, and for a split second I saw something. Not with my eyes. A flash of black water, shapes moving beneath it. Screams swallowed before they could escape. I kicked free, stumbling toward the edge of the clearing. But the trees were closer now, their trunks bending inward like they were leaning to watch. The light was fading fast, and a cold mist began to creep in from the ground. Behind me, the rumble turned into a sharp crack, like the splitting of wood. The earth opened just a little, and from the gap something glistened. Not roots this time, something wet, something alive. Claire didn't move. She just watched me with those black eyes and whispered, "It's awake now." And I knew, whatever was beneath those roots had noticed me. The moment Claire said, "It's awake now," the mist thickened, rolling over the ground until I couldn't see my own boots. Every breath tasted damp and metallic, like rainwater left sitting too long in a rusted bucket. I kept moving slow, trying not to make noise, though I had no idea where I was going. The trees seemed to part from me at first, then close in again behind me, sealing off any path back. It was like the forest wanted me to move in one direction, its direction, and that's when I saw the lights. Dozens of them, faint and pale, swaying between the trees. At first I thought they were lanterns, but the way they moved, too smooth, too steady. I followed them, not because I wanted to, but because my feet wouldn't stop. It was like something in the air had gotten into me. The lights led me to another clearing, only this one. I can barely describe it. It was perfectly circular. The ground inside was bare. No grass, no leaves, just dark, packed soil. Around the edges stood 12 wooden posts, each carved with those same twisting symbols I'd seen on the oak. At the top of every post was a skull. Some were human, some weren't. All of them had their jaws hanging open. And then the whispers started again. Not from the trees this time, from the skulls. They spoke all at once, a dozen voices weaving in and out of each other. I couldn't understand the language, but the rhythm, it felt like chanting. The kind of sound that doesn't just hit your ears, it digs into your bones. In the center of the circle, the soil began to tremble. A small crack appeared, widening slowly. That deep rumble from before rolled out again, vibrating through my chest. I tried to back away, but when I turned, Claire was standing right behind me, closer than ever. Her face was inches from mine, and for the first time since I'd seen her, she smiled. It wasn't wide or monstrous this time. It was almost sad. "You can still leave," she whispered, "but you have to give it something." My voice barely worked. "Give it what?" Her smile faded. She looked down at my hands, then back at my face. "You'll know." The ground split wider. From the gap, I could see movement, something massive shifting just out of sight. The chanting grew louder, the skulls rattling on their posts. And then, in the corner of my vision, I saw another name being carved into the soil. Letter by letter, it was mine. I swear I didn't blink. But one moment my name was just half scratched into the soil, and the next, it was complete. Perfectly carved letters, as if invisible hands had finished the job. The chanting from the skulls reached a fever pitch. My knees felt weak, like the sound was pulling the strength right out of me. The crack in the ground was wider now, and from inside I could see shapes. They slid and twisted in ways that made my stomach turn. Every now and then, something like a hand, or maybe a claw, reached up toward the surface before sinking back into the dark. Claire stepped into the circle. She moved carefully, almost reverently, as if she'd done this before. When she turned to face me, her black eyes shimmered faintly, catching the pale light from the floating orbs around us. "It's waiting," she said. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I just shook my head. Her voice softened. "It will let you go, but it wants something in return." I asked her, barely above a whisper, "What if I say no?" She didn't answer. She just looked at the ground between us. The soil shivered again, and this time a sound came from the crack. Not a rumble, not a chant, a breath, a long, slow inhale, like it was smelling me. My skin crawled. Claire's head tilted. "If you say no, it keeps you forever." The skulls began clicking their jaws in unison, the noise sharp and unnatural. The chanting stopped. Everything went still. And in that silence I heard it, my own voice. It came from the crack, echoing back at me. My name repeated over and over, each time a little louder, a little closer. I realized then it was offering me a choice. Give it what it wanted, or become part of it. My hands shook as I reached into my jacket. My fingers closed around the only thing I had, Claire's necklace. I'd found it earlier, snagged on a branch near the first clearing. I didn't know why I'd taken it then. Now, it felt like the only thing I could give. I stepped forward, dropped it into the crack. The soil swallowed it instantly. The breath stopped. The crack closed. The lights went out. When I opened my eyes again, I was at the edge of the woods. I never saw Claire again, and sometimes, late at night, I hear my name whispered just beyond my window.